Hello guys and welcome to the Wise Boxing channel. So today in the video we're going to be discussing Chris Eubank Jr. calling out the IBF middleweight champion Gennady Golovkin. So I'll just quickly brief you on what he said. So he said he is the #1 name on my list right now, talking about Golovkin. He said, "We were supposed to fight and it has always irked me that the fight was stolen from me and given to Cal Brook at the last minute. In the back of my mind, it has always been there. I've always wanted to fight him." So those were the words of Chris Eubank Jr. and he said that to Sky Sports. So first, I just want to give my thoughts. And a lot of people have already came out and said that if there was to fight, well, back when there was meant to fight in 2016, if you can remember, Eubank was meant to fight Golovkin, but the negotiations broken down. I think at that point Eubank was working with Eddie Hearn. But both the Eubanks were working with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure, if I can remember right, that Eubank Jr. and his team said they wanted more money or they wanted more rights or whatever it was for the fight. So the Golovkin team went a different way. And they got the Kell Brook fight. And we all know how that went. It was pretty routine win for Golovkin, even though some people say that was the fight that he got exposed as he did get hit a lot. So people were saying back then, if he was to fight Eubank Jr., that basically Eubank Jr. would get destroyed. So in 2016, I think Eubank Jr. was coming off the win of, he had the Nick Blackwell fight and he had the Tom Duran fight, 2 knockouts. Of course, we can remember the tragic Nick Blackwell fight and the circumstances that came with then. But back then in 2016, Golovkin was one of them fighters where he was a boogeyman of the division. He was really avoided. The only names he had on his record up to then was David Lemieux. He had Martin Murray, Marco Antonio Rubio, but that's it. So basically what I'm saying is he never really fought anyone back then. But people used to see him as the avoided fighter in the division. So when Eubank came out calling his name, there was a lot of fans saying Eubank's got no chance at all. And to be honest with you, I was probably one of them people. At that point, Eubank had lost to what we're talking about. He'd lost to Billy Joe Saunders. And that was his only loss. But he was coming off a few good performances, but still people thought this level. So this Golovkin's the world champion, unified world champion at that point, and they just thought he'd be too much to Eubank. Especially they thought that he'd probably get stopped. I don't really think he'd get stopped, but it's hard to say. At that point, Golovkin was basically in his prime or just past his prime. But since this interviews came out with Eubank, a lot of people have changed their minds and they've said actually they're not picking Eubank to win, but they're giving him a bit more of a chance to win the fight. And I completely agree with that, because if you look at Golovkin's past fights, he had the Canelo fight, which was a draw, which I thought he won. The Martirosyan fight, which was pretty straightforward. He had the Canelo Alvarez fight again in 2018, which he lost. Then he fought twice in 2019 against Steve Rolls. He didn't fight twice against Steve Rolls, but he fought Steve Rolls and he did get the knockout. But I think that was the fight we really started to see Golovkin age a little bit. I mean, he's always been one of them people where he does get hit quite a lot, but we've seen him take quite a lot of punches. His feet look slow, his hands looked very slow, even slower than they normally do. But he was able to come through and got the knockout. And then we've seen him fight for the IBF middleweight title against Sergey Derevinchenko, if I've said that right. Now, if you remember Derevinchenko, he did fight Danny Jacobs, and he gave Danny Jacobs quite a tough fight. That was for the IBF middleweight title again. I thought Jacobs won, but he's one of them guys where he comes forward, he applies pressure. One thing about him, he's very good in the pocket, throws good body shots. When he's in the pocket, what he does is he likes to punch, throw some body shots, then he turns a bit like Lomachenko or Usyk. They're both all Ukrainian, so it could be something that they're teaching the fighters. They throw a few punches and they shift the body sort of like a jump or like a twist to another side, and then they start attacking again. So I'll put a little clip in of that now so you can see what I'm talking about. So he was doing a lot of that against Golovkin. And it seemed like in that fight, when Derevianchenko was in the pocket against Golovkin, he was very successful with the body shots and some of the head shots. He never hurt Golovkin to the head, but he did hurt him a few times with the body shots, and Golovkin notably folded, if that's the right word, and was on the back foot. But Golovkin did win the fight. I think at the time I scored it very close. Swing could have went either way, but I'll have to go back and look back at it. But Golovkin did win the fight. But I think at this point in his career, Golovkin, after watching the Derevianchenko fight, the Rolls fight, even some circumstances going as far back as the Kell Brook and Danny Jacobs fight, which both showed his flaws, I think it is fair to say that Golovkin is definitely past his prime and he's in the tail end of his career. He's 38, so he's getting on. He's on the late side of the 30s, which isn't very good for a middleweight. And I think we have all seen the deterioration in his boxing. He's still got the power. He's still got the boxing skill. They say the boxing skill and the power's last to go, but stuff like his reflexes, some of his subtle defence and his footwork, speed has all deteriorated. And then on the other hand, you look at Chris Eubank Jr, who's very young. Well, he's 29, 30 years old, so he's not very young, but he's still in his prime now, his athletic prime, I say that. And he has a lot of the attributes that can be used to beat Golovkin. The fast hands, fast feet, great combination puncher. Now, what we need to remember about Golovkin is sometimes when he gets hit with a combination, he just kind of freezes up, puts his block up, puts his guard up, and then just takes the punches on the gloves. Some of them get through, then he waits for the person to finish punching, and then he tries to go again. So, as Eubank Jr is a great combination puncher, I think he does have a good chance of potentially beating Golovkin. We know timing's everything in boxing, and also the old adage, style must make fights. Eubank Jr, for me, has always been a person who's been good against people who've been coming towards him, pressure fighters, and he's struggled a bit against boxers, movers. If you look at some of the people Eubank Jr.'s fought and he's done well against, Dmitry Chudinov, that's a come forward pressure fighter. Gary O'Sullivan, knockouts. Nick Blackwell, knockout. You have the Arthur Abraham knockout. Avni Yildirim KO in the World Boxing Super Series. That was a great KO. And all of them people are people that have came towards him, that have tried to put the pressure on, high guards. And Eubank Jr has actually been quite successful on the back foot when he's moving around. Then he steps in, throws big combination punches, body shots, head shots. Fast, very fast, powerful. And his stamina's took him through. The people that he's struggled against are the people like the George Groves and the Billy Joe Saunders. Excuse me for that phone call, guys. I'll turn that off in the back if you can hear it. The Korobov, them type of people who are slick on the back foot. But when people come towards him, he does have some good success. He does have some good success when people are coming towards him. Sorry about that, I just had to shut my door. So I think it is a 50-50 swing fight. I think the winner is determined on how Golovkin boxes. Because we've seen in the second Canelo fight, Golovkin, instead of coming forward like the first fight, he chose to stand off, show us a solid jab, and he kind of box more. Even against David Lemieux, you've seen a lot more boxing. So I think if Eubank boxes like that, he's got a much better chance of winning the fight. I think if Golovkin boxes like that, instead of coming forward being a pressure fighter, I think he's got a much better chance of winning the fight. Because if he comes forward, high guard, trying to reply the pressure, land big shots, I think that's where Eubank's youth and his speed will carry him through. It is a hard one to choose, but I personally want to see the fight. The only thing is, Golovkin probably doesn't have no incentive to take the fight. As the champion, Eubank isn't bringing anything to the table at the minute, unless there was someone who put a lot of money up for the fight, which personally I can't see happening. But if Golovkin does choose to take it, I do think it will be a great fight. Potentially Eubank's time to break through, because we haven't really seen him get that standout win. He's had the win against James DeGale, which was a good win, but as we all know, DeGale was past his prime. He lost against George Groves. He lost against Billy Joe Saunders. them type of fights, really, people expected Eubank to step up and perform in. But if he was to go into this fight with Golovkin, if that audio just jumped a bit size, I'm sorry, I did have to chop it down a little bit. But yeah, if he was to go into this fight with Golovkin, I would give him quite a good chance of winning, as timing does make fights and everything. Sorry, I just dropped something. Timing does make fights. I think some of his back foot boxing, his combination punching ability, if he can perform like Derevinchenko, he's probably not as skilled, but if he can devise a good game plan based on that and try and exploit Golovkin's, just exploit Golovkin's weaknesses, I think he's got a good chance of winning. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed the video or you found it good, then please leave a like, subscribe if you want, turn on the post notification buttons, and please can you follow the Instagram, which is boxing_wise. That would be very good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.